All right, today we're going to crack the code on one of the most common and maybe one of the most confusing particles in the entire Japanese language. We're talking about the tiny but incredibly mighty particle no.
So, if you're learning Japanese, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You see this particle no literally everywhere, and it feels like it's doing a dozen different jobs at once, right? How can one little character handle ownership, descriptions, and even stand in for other words? Well, that's the big puzzle we're going to solve together today.
Okay, let's dive into its first major job. The key here is to think of no not as something that adds meaning, but as a really clever tool for replacing something that's already been said. It's all about efficiency.
And here's rule number 1, and it's a big one. When you stick no right after an adjective, it basically steps in for a noun you just mentioned. It works exactly like the English word one or ones, to keep you from sounding like a broken record.
And you're going to love this part. The grammar is super simple. It doesn't matter if it's an E adjective or a not adjective, you just tack the no right on the end. That's it. No complicated rules to memorize here.
So let's see how this works in the real world. Look at this sentence. First, we establish the noun we're talking about. Seita, a sweater. Now, in the second part, instead of saying red sweater all over again, you just say akai no, the red one. See that? That little no is doing all the heavy lifting, standing in for the word sweater.
Here's another great example. The subject is kaban, bags. The sentence says, she likes new bags. But when it comes to the old ones, well, you don't need to repeat the word bags. You just say furui no, the old ones. Again, the particle no is just doing its job, making things cleaner.
And just to show you it works with not adjectives too, check this one out. We're talking about a heya, a room. It's quiet. But the one next door, instead of saying the full tonari no heya, you just say tonari no. It means the one next door. So simple, so clean.
All right, on to function number 2. And this is probably the one you learned first, the one everyone knows, using null to show ownership. So rule number 2 is just as easy as the first. You take a noun, you add no, and bam, you've got ownership. It's pretty much the Japanese equivalent of adding an apostrophe S in English. But what's really going on under the hood? Well, noun plus no is actually a shortcut. It's a faster way of saying something like meishi A no mono, which means the thing belonging to noun A, or just noun A's one. It's another way it helps you be concise. Take a look at this. これは太郎さんのです. Now, we have no idea what this is. Is it a book, a phone, a sandwich? Doesn't matter. What we know for sure is who it belongs to. That no stands in for whatever the object is and tells us, plain and simple, it's Taro's.
And here it is again, that classic efficiency. You could say, あの自転車は母の自転車です. That bicycle is my mother's bicycle. But why would you? It sounds clunky. Just saying haha no, my mother's, gets the point across perfectly without repeating yourself.
Okay, so we've seen no act as a replacement after an adjective, and we've seen it show ownership for a noun. They might seem like two different things, but what if they're not? Let's connect the dots and see the bigger pattern here.
This right here, this is the key. On one side, you have the full phrase, Nihon no kuruma, Japan's cars. Simple enough. But on the other, you just have Americano. This means America's ones. Do you see what happened? The no is doing two jobs at once. First, it shows possession, America's, and then it replaces the noun cars, ones. It's both functions, working together.
And this sentence brings it all home. We start with Nihon no kuruma to set the topic, Japanese cars. Then, when we compare them to American cars, we don't need to say Americano kuruma again. The sentence just uses that beautiful, elegant shortcut, Americano, which means America's ones. It's what makes the whole comparison flow so smoothly.
So what's the big takeaway from all this? What's the one thing you really need to remember about the power of no?
It comes down to this. At its very heart, no is a particle of replacement. Think of it as a little pointer. Whether it's following an adjective or a noun, it's always pointing back to something that was just mentioned. It's how you say the red one instead of the red sweater and Taro's one instead of Taro's book. And using it well is one of the keys to making your Japanese sound less like a textbook and more like, well, a real person.
And there you have it. The code is cracked. No isn't three different particles. It's one powerful tool that acts as a shortcut, a placeholder, and a possessive marker all rolled into one. Which really makes you think, What other tiny bits of language out there, in any language, are doing this much work?